have Titus Nichols, who's a regular on the show. He's a trial lawyer. And Titus, we'd like to start with you.
The first thing the Biden administration is going to focus on is getting proper COVID relief to the American citizens, and also coming up with a unified plan for rolling out the distribution of the vaccine. So considering the fact that we're in a new year, 2021, and Trump still has not accepted his loss, I do not see him supporting the American political tradition of being at the inauguration.
There said, quote, when it comes to people of color, it's always the victim that's on trial and not the people accused of the crime. Titus, you first.
The law in Georgia is very particular about when you can introduce negative evidence against the victim. The defense is going to have to show that they knew that Mr. Arbery had some type of mental issue, and that mental issue had anything to do with them jumping in the back of a truck and chasing him down. That's a very high burden that they're going to have to overcome evidentiary, and I don't know what they're going to use that will be able to convince the judge that they should be allowed to introduce any reference to Mr. Arbery's mental condition.
Titus, this is a huge verdict. What are your initial thoughts?
The fact that they came back on every single count of guilty means that they listened to the evidence presented by the government. They listened to the defendant's arguments, but they were not persuaded. By him exercising his constitutional right to remain silent, the jury never got to hear that part of the story. And unfortunately, that's not always the most persuasive tactic in a trial. When I was a prosecutor, I would split up my closing argument into two phases. The first phase would be where I would get the boring parts out, but I would explain the definitions of the law. So as a prosecution's main job is to be a teacher and to educate them as to each count and which counts they need to seriously consider and which ones they shouldn't consider at all for the prosecution.
3 major Biden vaccine policies for people not directly employed by the federal government are frozen across the country.
For the ruling that was in Georgia, that affects the Biden administration's mandate on federal contractors. So if a private employer such as SRS wants to pass a particular mandate saying you must be vaccinated or else you will go on unpaid leave, they can do that.
In Savannah, Georgia, jury selection will start on Monday for the men charged with killing Ahmaud Arbery.
There's no law that says the defendants have the right to detain anybody for walking through an unconstructed home. And that's going to be the biggest issue the defense is going to have, is trying to find some way to justify the horrendous actions.
Titus, thank you so much for joining us, sir. Great insight.
Glad to be here. Thank you.